There is context of this situation currently. Basically, Ebro was talking about Drake on his podcast. He had said something about Drake dragging it, always talking about the beef. He said he wasn't going to talk about it in the summer, and he is still talking about it now.
So I'm not even talking about certain people. I'm talking about Drake. I'm not talking about people who are fans. I'm talking about studied craftsmen who are great at contributing and understand what this hip hop shit has been since its
conception.
Yes. Yeah. Like, and I hate going back to the beef, but guess who keeps bringing the fucking beef up? who said we wasn't going to be talking about this summer, but guess who the fuck we're talking about, man? So we're not supposed to bring that up either?
No. And he's going on these crazy rants on stage, talking about loyalty and karma and how his karma's straight. Like, he is honestly the one dragging this whole situation. And
I didn't get here by being a piece of shit. I didn't get here by being a snake. I didn't get here by being a dickhead. I got here by being good to people, being nice to people, and my karma is straight. That's why I'm still on stage in 2025. Trust me.
And this is where Boss comes in. Boss comes in and he starts giving his 2 cents. That's how he starts this paragraph. He says, my 2 cents under this post with Ebro. And he says, Drake is among the most, if not the most, inclusive of artists our culture has put forth. Pushed countless rappers to the forefront, dancehall artists, Afrobeat artists, R&B artists, reggaeton, older artists, newer artists. I don't get this culture narrative that's persisted since the battle. If it's the Canadian thing, Toronto is an hour away from New York City. I'd argue their culture and ethnic makeup is more akin to New York City than pretty much any city in the States. New York City, Toronto, London, triumvirate culturally. Surely it's not his pen. He's arguably the greatest writer of a generation. So what is it? I don't think that it's a good idea to compare New York City to Toronto. But the whole point is, I know he is not trying to say just because Toronto and New York City are an hour away from each other that they are the same. They are not the same. The accents are completely different. Look at a Toronto accent and look at somebody from New York's accent.
What are your thoughts on the Toronto accent?
Not gonna lie, broski, that's just the best accent. Why word, Cuddy? Like me, I've been speaking that shit since the womb. I did not cry when I was born. I was like, hey, yo, mama, what you saying, Cuddy? You're good?
Two completely, totally different things. New York City is the birthplace of hip hop. You can't just throw Toronto and Canada in there. There are two different things, not even just talking about hip hop, just talking about in general. Like, what are you even doing saying that? That's not even a good idea. And I like Boss's music. This is just a horrible take all around. Even talking about Drake being the best writer, he says, surely it's not his pen. He's arguably the greatest writer of a generation. So what is it? And this is the part that I have a problem with. This goes back to Drake talking about how he didn't do any people wrong, because we know that Drake has ghostwriters, and we know that one of the ghostwriters that got into a crazy conflict that you could say Drake did snake, because he's saying that he didn't snake any people in his recent speech, but he did snake Quentin Miller. Quentin Miller was definitely somebody who wrote for Drake, and his career, out of his own mouth, has been rocky ever since that situation came about. That situation is because Drake wasn't a writer. He had a ghostwriter, and he snaked Quentin Miller's career wasn't the same after that situation because Drake got exposed. But needless to say, Drake is not the best writer, not when you're considered to have ghostwriters. No one should be considered the best writer if you have a ghostwriter. I don't like the fact that Boss is somebody who actually is a good lyricist, has songs with Ab-Soul, J. Cole, and everybody from Dreamville artists, all that. But this is just a bad take. I mean, realistically, you can't be the best writer if people write for you. If that's the case, then you don't need anybody to write anything for you if your pen is that great. If you're that good of a writer, MC, somebody who could make the best lyrics, you don't need someone to write it for you. So I don't want to hear the argument that Drake writes for other people because other people write for Drake, and it's never been something that he could just do on his own. It's always been some type of help, some type of assistance when it comes to writing lyrics, an idea of something. It always comes from him or somebody else. It's never just going to be an original thought. And even if it was, we will never know because he already tarnished that legacy of having a writer. You know, we don't never hear about Eminem having a writer. We don't hear about Kendrick having a writer. There's just certain rappers in this industry, in this game, that don't need a writer, and they're known for not having one.
A flow pattern, I can't never predict anything. It's the same thing if I get on getting on a track with Kendrick. That to me is like a top tier lyricist because it's like you can get your ass kicked any day.
They're known just to create their own original lyrics by themselves. So for someone like Boss, who's a good MC, to even say this take it's a big L. Even comparing New York City to Toronto, that's a big L too. Respectfully, I don't really see why he went out his way to say this, bro. It just doesn't make sense. Really does really feel like he was trying to push that because Drake is Canadian, that's why we have a problem with him. That's not the, or at least for Ebro, right? Because that's who he's talking to. But that's not the case, bro. If it really was that, then we would have a problem with The Weeknd. We would have a problem with other rappers that come from Toronto. But that's not the case at all. We don't have a problem with artists that come from Toronto or Canada. So that can't be the reason why anybody has an issue or a problem. Now, I'm not sure why he said New York City, maybe because it's close or maybe because he's talking to Ebro, but you can't compare Canada, Toronto to New York City, bro. That's something that you just can't do. Whether it just be in the hip hop aspect or just in general, New York City and Toronto are two different locations. And the people that live in those cities will probably agree with that. You would think that somebody from Dreamville would have a better take than this, honestly, considering that they actually have a lot of people that know how to write and know how to MC over there. You would think that Boss would have came with a better take. But when you give your 2 cents, you know, you get a lot of people's 2 cents right after that. And my 2 cents is that's a bad take, bro. I really think that you should have just sat that one out. But y'all can tell me how you feel about this and get back to me, man. Y'all can tell me how you feel about what he said about Drake and get back to me. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next video, man. Peace. Keep it a legend.